Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to this webinar. So my name is Léa Dehaute. I'm the project manager of the TYNDP 2022. So I see that more and more of you are connecting. So maybe while more people join, so let me maybe introduce quickly. So as usual, you will find the slides of this webinar on our website. And the recording as well on our website, either today or in the few coming days very quickly. We'll also send the slides via email right after this webinar. This webinar is being recorded, so you can also find the recording online. We will be using a Slido tool to take your questions. So here on the screen now, you can see the details to join. So you can either use the QR code on the right-hand side or go to slido.com and enter the code, which you can see here with 7 numbers. So we'll use only this tool to get your questions. So please do not use the questions functionality in GoToWebinar because we will not be monitoring it. Please use Slido instead. And also that will allow you to also see the questions raised by other people. And it helps us also to have a clearer overview of all the questions we got and to also access them later. Okay, I see that more and more people are connecting. So now I will give the mic to Ilaria, who will present the agenda.
Thank you, Léa, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. So this is the agenda of today's webinar on completing TYNDP 2022 project sheets. We will start with a brief overview of what are project sheets. This is mainly for new project promoters, but can be a reminder also for project promoters that apply to previous TYNDP cycles. Then we will show you the timeline of the next project promoters engagement activities, which is a tentative timeline because, of course, will depends a bit on when the results of the study will be available. Then this is the most important part. We will show you the mandatory and optional information needed to complete TYNDP 2022 project sheets. And finally, we will have a Q&A session on Slido. You will find also in the next slides the QR code and the number that you need to enter slido.com. And finally, we will show you where to find relevant material for project promoters. So again, if you missed the first part, this is the QR code and the number to enter Slido to ask questions or share your comments. So what are project sheets? Project sheets are a really important communication tool that show the result of the cost-benefit analysis, the key information and the cost context behind each project that has been included in TYNDP 2022. They are part of the TYNDP 2022 package, and therefore they will be published together with the TYNDP package. And as I said, they are a really important communication tool because they are used by the European Commission and the PCI regional groups in order to, in the PCI process. So in particular, they are relevant if you intend to apply for the PCI status. They are publicly available online, and they are in 3 different formats: online as web pages, but you can also download them as PDF or in Excel spreadsheets. They usually, when you enter your project name on Google, they are among the first results that you can find. So that's also why they are a relevant communication tool, because they really show all the information regarding your project and are easy to find. This is how the project sheets platform appears when you want to look for the information for a particular project. You find both storage project and transmission project sheets in the same platform, and you can access to the information of a particular project through filters. For instance, on the left hand side you can find the project status, and you can filters by project status or otherwise in the maps. So an important date to remember is when to complete project sheets. You can start already today, and you have time to update them and also add additional information until the 15th of June 2022. Why you need to update them? Because some information that you submitted in the opening window between September and October, they might need some updates. For instance, you might change the commissioning year, and so you probably wish to update them. The important thing to keep in mind is that the update, they don't have to affect the CBA assessment. But we will see this later on in the presentation. Or they are also useful to provide additional information for project sheets, in particular for those projects that apply in the PCI process. You can update your project through the TYNDP project platform that you should all know, because it's the platform that you use to submit your project between September and October. While for some other information that we will show you later on, you don't have the possibility to update them in the platform, but you need to email the point of contact, so you can email me. This is the timeline of your next engagement activities for project promoters. So as I said, between as of today and until 15th of June, you can update or provide additional information for project sheets. Until 30th of June, you have time, if you wish, this is optional, to submit the project level indicators. There is an exception for 2 indicators, B9 indicators, and you receive about this an email a few days ago, but also for B7.1 indicator, there is an extension of the deadline until mid-August. This is to allow for the provision of CBA market simulation for scenarios NT 2030 and D 2030. But it's only for these 2 indicators, B9 and B7.1. Between end of June and early July, the exact dates will be confirmed later on. You will have the possibility to select 4 of the needs that are addressed by your project, but we will also see this more in detail later. And also between end of June and early July, for 2 weeks, you will have the time to review and comment on the first batch of CBA results. While for the second batch of CBA results, you will have time to review them and comment on them between end of September and early October. The public consultation on TYNDP 2022 package will take place between end of July and early September, and then the final submission to ACER for its opinion is foreseen for end of October. So now we will see what are the mandatory and optional information to complete project sheets. First, we will show you the mandatory additional information for all projects, both transmission and storage, and we will see that they will concern residual impact. Then the mandatory additional information only for some projects, and they will affect only some particular transmission project. And then optional additional information to improve the presentation of your project, and then some data that we suggest you to check and update if needed. So this is what you have to do to enter the project platform. You can enter it through the same link that you used to access to it in September with your credential. You will find your project, and you will have the possibility on the right hand side of your project both to edit the project or to open the project sheet preview once you have added all the requested information. For the mandatory additional information that concern all projects, as I said before, they concern the residual impact, both environmental and social impact. So we ask you to indicate the residual impact data. For further information regarding environmental and social residual impact and for the methodology used, you can refer to the latest edition of the third CBA guideline, in particular section 15 and 16, and you can find them also through this link, but also in the TYNDP web page under documents. So the process is slightly different between transmission and storage projects. So first I will show you how to enter the information for transmission and then for storage. For transmission, you need to, after you enter the platform, you can click on the tab CBA indicators. And if you scroll down the page, you see the fields for residual environmental impact and residual social impact. You are requested to enter the same information, so I will show you how to do only for the residual environmental impact as is the same for the social impact. So first, you need to select in the menu the investment that you need to fill in. After you select the investment, you will see a tab Add Item. If you click on the tab, it will show you two fields: the distance that you need to enter. You need to enter the value, and the type of sensitivity, which is a scroll down menu, and you need to select the type of sensitivity for your investment. For storage project, as I said, is slightly different because they don't have multiple investments, so it's a single entry for environmental, social, but also other residual impacts. And this is how the platform will look like. So as for transmission projects, you should click on the CBA indicators, and if you scroll down, you find the field for the residual impact. You can also add at the end some additional information if you wish to. Then the mandatory information for transmission project, but only for some projects. We require you to collect the MVA for AC lines and cables, for transformers and phase shifters, and to collect MVAR for reactive compensation devices. You can find these two fields that you can see in the slide if you go on the additional information for project sheets tab. As for the optional additional information, we request you to fill them in to improve the presentation of your project. The two fields that we encourage you to update are the project description, which should be already completed because it was a mandatory field to complete for the submission. But we invite you to really focus on the description of the reason, of the rationale of your project, why your project is realized, and to try to avoid too technical and redundant details on the project. Some information that we invite you to provide is the mentioning the countries or even the substation concerned, some peculiar information about the project, for instance, the use of innovative technology, And as you can see here, also to indicate if it's a new or upgrade of existing infrastructure. If you want, you can also provide some additional information on the project, such as studies or a media article or the website of the project. Another optional additional information are project level indicators. You can also fill them in through the TYNDP project platform, and this is how it looks like. I will not go into details because we had an ad hoc webinar on PLIs, and if you miss it, you can find the recording on the website. And I also sent you a few days ago, I think, a guidance on how to fill in project level indicators. But of course, if you have questions, you can ask them on Slido. Then to go on, we invite you to check and if needed, update some data. The data that we invite you to check are the commissioning year, the project status, and the sustaining capex. You cannot directly edit them through the TYNDP project platform, but you can do so by sending an email to me, and we will update them in the platform for you. Please indicate in the email the name of the project and also the project ID, the project number. Lea, I don't know if you want to add something regarding this part.
Yes, just quickly. So the reason we highlighted these 3 fields, so of course you can edit a lot more data about your project as long as it's not used for the CBA computations. But in past experience, whenever a new NDP is published in a country, for example, these are the 2 fields, the commissioning year and the status, which tend to change the most. And also we want to really insist that you check the sustaining capex, because when looking at the data we collected back in September, October of 2021, I saw that for many projects the value provided for sustaining capex is 0. For many other projects it is the exact same value as for the inception capex, and that does not seem to make sense. So I fear that maybe there has been some misunderstanding as to what is meant by sustaining capex. That's understandable because I think this sustaining capex is only mentioned in the latest version of the CBA guideline, which we have been able to publish only very recently, I think a couple of months ago. So later today we will send an email to all promoters to release, resend a link to that guideline and mention explicitly that we advise to check the value provided for the sustaining capex, because this is data that will be used for sure if your project is a candidate for the PCI process. So the EC will be looking at those values. So it is really important that it is accurate. So yeah, I think that's all I had to say on this point.
Thanks, Lea. So to conclude, to remind you also the next steps and the inputs we will require you at a later stage. We will ask for needs. So you will be invited to select 4 of the identified needs that your project contribute to address. And if you wish so, you can also provide a brief explanation of the chosen needs. Of course, we will send an email with more information regarding this, but for you to know, it will be you will be asked for these needs between end of June and early beginning of July. As I said before, you will also have the possibility to comment on CBA results in a first batch between end of June and beginning of July, and a second batch between end of September and beginning of October. And you will have 2 weeks to comment on them through the, you can leave your comment on the TYNDP project platform. Then I think we can move into Slido and see if there are already some questions, and then we will go back to the presentation. So first question from Stefan: how do you enter an environmental impact improvement by improving the path roof into the project sheets? Lea, would you like to take it?
Yes, so I suppose what is meant here is an improvement compared to the previous version of the project. So you used to have a route with an impact for like 50 kilometers, and now you've changed the route, and now the impact is reduced to 20 kilometers. I suppose this is what is meant. So what I would do then is enter the new environmental impact, so the new distance in kilometer, and maybe there is a field for additional information, so maybe you can specify that, mention in this field that there has been a change compared to the previous version of the project, unless I misunderstood what was meant here. In any case, this field is really about the impact of the project. It's not really about any improvement compared to previous versions of the project. But then you can mention any improvement as additional information. But I think that that is all. So I hope I answered your question, Stefan. Otherwise, please don't hesitate to either ask a new question or maybe even contact us via email. Okay.
For the moment, I cannot see other questions. Maybe in the meantime, we can go back to the presentation, which I show you the last slide, and then we see if there are new questions on Slido. So here is where you can find all relevant information for project promoters on the promoters corner. You can find the guidance, the slides of the webinars. The recording are under the home page. If you go into the events, then and click on a specific event, after a few days, you will find the recordings. You can find also in the Promoters Corner a frequently asked question document, the TYNDP 2022 draft project portfolio with the list of projects, and of course the link to the project platform, which is very, very important now for you to edit the project sheets. And it's also an important page is the documents page, where, for instance, there you can find the latest edition of the CBA guideline. Okay, we have new questions. So could you explain in more detail why was the deadline for B7.1 and B9 moved? Thank you. Lea, would you also take this question?
Yes, it's because we've been informed that for the computation of these indicators, I think not in all cases, but for some projects, you would need to have the information of the market output for the computations of CBA indicators for the scenario. So what we will provide by the end of June and end of July are the results for scenarios to NT 2030 and DE 2030, so that you can compute those two PLIs for those scenarios. But I am just awaiting final confirmation from our team, but we will communicate about B7.1 shortly. And I just want to make sure that we are able to provide everything that's necessary to compute it. And I also see the question of.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was about the
question of event velocity. Yes, about the definition of. Yeah, I do not remember the definition by heart. Very briefly, it is capex that happens after the commissioning of the project. So we distinguish between inception capex. So inception capex is all expenses until the project commissions, and the sustaining capex is what comes afterwards. So I guess to really have a really detailed definition, we will need to look at the CBA guideline. So again, we will share a link via email after this webinar, but I will see if I can open it really quickly now and try to find this definition. So it includes midlife interventions or significant and scheduled upgrade of assets. It includes the expected cost of devices that have to be replaced within the assessment period. And it also includes the dismantling costs at the end of the equipment life cycle. So yeah, that's capex after the commissioning. But really, you need to check the CBA guideline. I mean, the definition is not very long. It's on pages 111, 112.
Thanks, Lea. And then we have a follow-up question from Thomas. Do we need to ask for the results of the simulation through the data form, or the results will be published for all promoters?
It would be good if you could let us know that you will require these results to compute B7 and B9, because we need to know like how many requests to expect, because this will be in the middle of summer, and I mean this timeline is also quite challenging for us. So I think we'll ask promoters to contact us, and we will provide the results, because they have to be in a specific format also. Specifically to the promoters that we know are going to need them to compute B7 and B9. Of course, the CBA results, we will make them available, I mean, at least for NT 2030 earlier, as you saw on the slide with the timeline. So we expect that by the end of June, we will share the results for NT 2030 for review. But for these computations, you might need like a more detailed granularity that what we usually share in project sheets. So that's why it's better to let us know via email. Are there any more questions?
Let's maybe wait one more minute to see if some new question pop up.
And in any case, you're always welcome to contact us via email.
Okay, I don't see any more questions, so maybe here you can find the email address if you want to ask further questions, and please also use this email to tell us in advance if you want to submit B9 and B7.1 indicators. I would close the webinar, and I thank you all very much for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.